Welcome to the International Teacher Podcast with your host, Kent the Cat Guy, Jacqueline from JP Mint Consulting, Darian the Family Guy, and Greg the Single Guy, bringing you episodes from around the world about the best kept secret in teaching. You got it, international education. Welcome to the show.
Hey, welcome to the International Teacher Podcast. I'm Kent the Cat Guy, and I'm bringing us in today. With me today is my co-host, Greg the Single Guy. Hey, Greg.
How you doing, Kent? Good to be here.
Good to see you. Good to have you. I'd like to introduce my other co-host, JP Mint. How you doing, JP?
Good morning. Good morning. Hello.
And I would like to introduce our very special guest, Rita Bateson. Thank you so much, Rita.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited. I'm loving the fireworks.
Rita, where are you calling us in from?
I'm joining from Dublin, Ireland, where it's a grey and miserable day here in August, which of course is most days in August here in Dublin. But otherwise, yeah, having a great time. Excited to be here.
Ooh, very nice. So we have 3 continents. Is that right? Quickly making math. Yes, geography, math, 3 continents, 4 time zones. And we made it here for you listeners. Rita, can you tell us an elevator version of your international journey? Not elevator, actually. Tell us a little bit about your international experience.
Sure thing. So I was raised in Dublin, here where I am now. But then in 2001, I was desperate to travel internationally, desperate to teach. I'm unfortunately 5th generation teacher in this family, so there was no escaping. And ultimately, it was a ridiculous time in Dublin where you couldn't afford a house. And I think people now get that feeling everywhere there. You couldn't afford a house, and telling a bank manager that you were a teacher was just a laugh in your face. So I decided then I would go internationally. And the very first school I applied to was in Rome because I was desperate to live an Italian lifestyle. And they told me that I would go nowhere in international education without English experience because Irish, didn't quite cut it. And I was like, oh, okay. So I went to the UK. Picked up a man there, I went for a year, stayed for 8, met a man, turned him into a teacher, convinced him to travel. His family haven't forgiven me. And then we started. So we did Switzerland, Bermuda, Germany, the US, and then The Hague for the IB. So I was curriculum manager at the IB for a while for math and science. And then Nord Anglia, there's a network of schools called Nord Anglia. They wanted to open an international school in Dublin and they needed a head of school. So I came home under pressure from everybody, come home. And we opened a school here. And that was in 2019, just in time for COVID.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So that was awesome. So we went from 100 kids to 300 during COVID because we had a lockdown school and everything else. And then a couple of years ago, had to take some carers leave because I'm in that sandwich generation. And while I was on carers leave, I wrote some textbooks for the IB. I wrote some pedagogy books. I always forget about them. And during that time, when you're in a lot of hospital appointments and kind of sitting on your hands and twiddling your thumbs, I thought, well, now's the time to get on top of AI. Because when I go back to school, I'm going to need to know all about it because it is impacting everything. Mm-hmm. So I spent 2023 and 2024 on carers leave and studying and researching, and then founded a company. I met somebody through Toddle. I don't know if you know Toddle, the online, it's like an IB platform thing. And they hired me to do a little bit of work. And I met someone there and she said that the AI space is full of tech people and people who don't have schools interests at heart necessarily, and people who aren't thinking about the implications of AI on pedagogy and assessment and all of the things that really, really matter. And so she convinced me to kind of move into, and to be honest, we convinced each other. I was an AI skeptic and she was an AI cheerleader. And between the two of us, we managed to find this kind of very sensible middle ground of what schools actually need. So we founded a company this year called Eblana Learning. And we've been working on comprehensive AI guidance originally for IB schools because that's what we know and that's who we are, to our back teeth. But it turns out that actually all schools need AI, kind of sensible, moderate, insightful, pedagogic guidance. So that's less than an elevator pitch and more of a life story. But there you go. That's me in a nutshell.
That was awesome.
Rita, you call yourself an AI skeptic. Tell us about that journey of you starting out skeptical. How have you changed and how have you remained the skeptic in AI?
Well, that's a great question, actually, because initially it felt like an existential threat, right? As a writer, as a curriculum developer, it felt like this was just another fad. I know they say everything before 35 is an innovation and everything after 35 is an inconvenience. And it felt like, I was like, I'm not doing this again. I just about got on top of Microsoft OneNote. I'm not doing this again. I'm not moving to another flipping platform. I was just like, I'm done with this stuff. This is Bitcoin. This is blockchain. I don't care about this. This is NFTs. And for that first year, I managed to hold that line. And then I was attending some association meetings and I was talking to other heads, and it was taking over their lives. It was taking so much, like it was fights with teachers about assessment authenticity. It was academic integrity concerns. Would the kids lose their diploma? Would the kids lose their high school accreditation? All of these things. And this colleague, Rachel Bodley, my co-founder, she was like, you know, there's no reason not to get into that. She hired me to do something for AI, and I was like, I don't know AI. And she said, nobody does. Get into it. Go learn it. And that's why I spent that year. But at first, the first couple of models, I was just so worried about the hallucinations. I was so worried about the inaccuracies and the incorrectness and the biases. And then more and more recently, I got really worried, and I'm seeing it in schools, about the acceptance of mediocrity in education and what people are doing with, you know, students copying and pasting, and now increasingly teachers copying and pasting, and accepting outputs that are factually correct, but quality-wise substandard. And I think that's the thing that we need. That's really part of what drives me, is this idea that software engineers do evals, right? We're not doing evals with the kids on the AI outputs. So I thought that's where my skepticism comes in useful. I don't always see the potential and promise, and she does. Like, she shows me this is an incredible accelerant for learning, for language teachers, for example. And as a language teacher, how long, JP, did you spend looking for sources and extracts of just the right level of vocab and just the perfect source for a kid? And now AI does it. And you don't have to write it yourself anymore, which we always have to do, right?
Yeah.
And I think I don't always see those possibilities and potentials until I'm back in the role of the classroom teacher, and I'm thinking, okay, well, where is this really, really powerful, and where is it a distraction, and where is it an absolute nonsense? And I think that skepticism comes in really helpful in terms of being a bit of an older teacher, being long in the tooth, who's been through a couple of ed tech cycles, some of which were amazing and some of which were a waste of money. You know, I think that's really where I'm coming from in terms of the skepticism. And I have to remind myself when I see that this is generally, like, honestly, truly revolutionary. But I don't know if I've been listening to 20 years of people saying we have to rethink education, and we didn't. We raced back into the classroom. The second we could get back in there, we were back in there, even with masks and everything else. So that was an opportunity that we did not rethink education. Social media, we've got loads of lessons learned from that. Maybe all of those things were leading us to this convergent point where now actually we have a responsibility, an epistemic responsibility. We have a need for deliberation. We have a need for discernment. And we have, as educators, the call to kind of cautious optimism. All of those things I think are true. That's such a rant. I'm sorry, but I get really passionate about it.
That's awesome.
Please.
But you're right.
Passionate.
You're absolutely right. Like, we had Ken Robinson's video from how many years ago talking about the factory of education. If you go on YouTube and you can see one of those like drawings when he's talking and they draw. And so it's really compelling to watch. I watched the whole thing a few times. But talking about the change in education, and it's coming, and it's coming, and it's coming, and it still hasn't. You say it right. Like, COVID was an opportunity that I don't know that we have quite lost it yet. I think we're still in those post-COVID years that it might still happen, but AI might just push us over, right?
I think it will be. I think it potentially has to, because if we don't, if we've squandered multiple opportunities to rethink education, then maybe it's not that broken. You know, that's maybe the uncomfortable truth. Or maybe it's so comfortable that we have to be forward. And this is one of the things that maybe might just push us over that edge. Because I think you're right. Like, I always get so frustrated. I was at the IB too, and we would bring in experts and they would say, we have to rethink everything. And I'd be like, right, I'm ready. Let's go. What do we do? And nobody had an answer. And I think that's the really frustrating part. I was like, okay. And that's where I feel like that is the role that we have in Eblana. At least we can come in and say, this is great. These are the things you need to be aware of. These are the things you don't need to think about. And here's the next step. Because it's often the next step that's missing. It's often like the ideation of what it could look like on the ground, what it can look like when you're balancing, if you're a school leader and you're balancing parent complaints and dropping roll numbers, or decreased funding if you're in certain school regions at the moment. There's a lot of schools under threat for funding and for bums on seats. And AI is not going away. So how do you navigate that? How do you kind of negotiate? Navigate, such an AI word, isn't it? I'm going to switch to negotiate. How do you negotiate that? Yeah. And it's editing our speech in real time.
I want to throw something techie and very AI in here. I've been watching lots of videos about stuff, and I came across this Overton window theory. Have you guys heard about this before?
Oh, so
yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about it, Rita? Because we're sort of in that space right now with AI, right?
We are, and I think it's moving at a slightly different. It's moving at a different rate to the general discourse. So the idea of the Overton window is that the window of what's acceptable to talk about and what's acceptable to kind of in mainstream conversation, it shifts over time. And what could be absolutely unacceptable in 2011 is now suddenly, so say, for example, far-right extremism or toxic masculinity or whatever it might be, whatever the extremes of discourse are, that shifts, and you can feel it shifting. People who would never have said such a thing before are saying it now, or vice versa. In AI and education, that Overton window is really interesting because we had at the two ends of the window, we have people who are incredibly passionate, the cheerleaders, who are hyper-focused on AI literacy, which is wonderful. How are we going to get the most out of this tech? What are we going to benefit from? What are we going to use it for? Who is it going to serve? And how is it going to serve? And then on the other extreme of the Overton window, the most kind of the acceptable edges of criticism of AI tend to be people who are hyper-focused on AI ethics. And what does it mean for access? And what does it mean for equality? And what does it mean for equity? And the Overton window kind of spans that much. And I think most people are sitting on either edge of that. And it's often the tech-excited people aren't talking to the doom mongers enough. And I think one of the things I really like about the IB is that they say other people with their differences can also be right. Both of those camps are correct. Like both of those camps have kids' best interests at heart. They have education at heart. And you don't have to sit in one camp or the other. And I think that's the problem, is that we have such a bifurcated conversation on LinkedIn and formerly on Twitter or X, and not at all on Blue Sky. It seems to be like that the Overton window is shifting as to what you can and can't say about AI. It's shifting about what you can and can't say about education. But not many people are moving their opinions, which is really interesting, I think.
We go in and out of the window with education AI. We're going in and out of that window. And the same things happen with like other technology, especially the big one is phones, right? Smartphones in education. That was a big shift, and we're still in that window. We haven't solved that one. And this is just complicating things even more now. But we're seeing
more and more schools going phone free, and then
right now that's the big trend, at least in the U.S. I've been doing a lot of research on that too, but they're trending towards that, and international schools are sort of grappling with it too. Like, what do we ban them or do we not ban them? Do we put them in satchels or not? And all this kind of stuff. So they're in the window, and it goes in and out with the focus. And that Overton window is very political too, but education is political, right? No matter what country you're in. So,
and all of these decisions on AI are politically inflected. They're financially inflected. I mean, that really is, it would be impossible to deny it. And I think, like you say, we had so many lessons learned, and it took us, God, how long did it take us to recover from Wikipedia and Google? It probably took us about 10 years to figure out that digital literacy was important and critical literacy was really key. And now if AI has come, Google came for knowledge, right? And now AI is coming for skills. And that's a really fascinating place to be in. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I was thinking also about the implications, the environmental implications of AI. I keep hearing about how much water it takes for somebody to write an email using AI. And I just think, well, I'll do my part by not ever using it. So I don't even know how to use it. I don't know where to find it. I think I could just go and Google open chat GPT or something, but I've never used it. Although Google is now starting to use it. So whenever I do a search, it pops up the little AI and says, here's the information you're looking for. And it used to be you have to go on a Wikipedia page to get that much information. So I suppose everyone is using it.
Can we do something real quick here? I wanted to reach out with a question that's very basic, and you may have a good answer. You may have to, I'm not sure what kind of an answer you're going to have, but as a teacher, everybody asks me, well, I'm a teacher. What do teachers use it for? Right. And I don't have a great answer for them, because a lot of adults are still using it like, in the teachers, a lot of them are just using it like Google used to be.
Fancy
as
Google.
a,
Fancy Google.
exactly. Right. And ChatGPT 5 just came out August 7th. And I've been dipping in and out of it, doing different things. But what's your answer to that question? I'm an average teacher, middle school, high school, elementary, early years. What can I use? Why is it important that I know about AI?
Well, for most of the training that we do at schools or the work that we do at schools to support teachers specifically, I make sure that the AI literacy is developed at the exact same rate or speed as the AI ethics, right? Those two things cannot be picked apart. So we need to look at, you'll see an awful lot of promotion in terms of we can save teachers hours and we can offload all the drudge work. And I think that's really important, first of all, to, I'm going to say it, I hate the word, I'm going to say it anyway, unpack. We need to unpack actually what that means. Because those of us who taught before email, like before notifications and platforms, we had time to discuss education. We moaned. Can I swear on this podcast?
You can.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, cool. I'm Irish.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. We bitched and moaned about marking. We bitched and moaned about lesson planning. But actually, none of those have changed. Like, that's still the baseline. The amount of marking and all of that. So where the additional work is in the access. It's in the notifications and the platforms and all those things. So if AI can help there, that would be my first go-to. If we can look at where AI could assist in an administrative as opposed to pedagogic tasks, that's the first thing. Because actually, if we can free up those younger teachers who don't have time to develop the skills and the craft because they're busy filling in a form and because they're busy filling in a lesson plan, then okay. If the
report
lesson plan
card
is
comments.
Yeah. And if that's perfunctory and that gets in the way of your teaching and learning, let's shift that. Let's get rid of that. Okay, that's fine. Let's offload that immediately. But ultimately, your bigger question is, where is it going to add value? Where is it going to be useful? So if we look at the planned curriculum, if we look at the taught curriculum, and if we look at the assessed curriculum, where is the most important place that we want to go to with that? And I think in the first instance with schools, when I'm working on it, I focus on the planned curriculum because the assessed curriculum piece is undetermined. Like it's not going to be there yet. We don't know what's going to happen with assessment and AI, right? It's too big. I'm sorry, my daughter is diabetic, so I'm just getting some notices here on my phone. I'll turn it on silent and she can have a cookie. So
Have a cookie.
I think, to be honest, if I were dipping a toe in AI for the first time as a teacher and I'm looking for the maximum value and not like a learning, like a cognitive overload, I think the first thing that I do is I say to people, right, pick any AI. It doesn't matter. Like you said, JP, go and search for an AI, pick it straight away. It's forcing itself upon your phone anyway. It's in WhatsApp. It's in Meta. You're going to have it there at your fingertips anyway. And the very first thing I ask all of the teachers to do is ask it to do something you're good at and ask it to do something you're bad at. And then let's get started. So if you look at something, I ask them to craft, say, for example, if you really enjoy creating exciting activities for kids, ask it to create an exciting activity and see where it stacks up against you. And then you know if this is going to be an efficiency thing for you. Is this going to make what you're already very good at fast? And then gain some time and win some time back. And then hopefully we get some teacher overload, reducing over time. Then I ask them to see if it's going to be something that ask it something you're bad at. So for me, for example, I'll always go and ask it to create an exciting activity for statistics or something not very exciting. And then I'll ask it to create ideas for a 10-year-old's birthday party because I suck at that. So if it can do that thing well for me, brilliant. I have a win. I have an offloading ability. So that I test always for efficacy and efficiency. And I think that's where we can really gain for teachers and for leaders and for school networks and for districts and everything else, because we are so busy in some of the churn and in some of the busy work that we forget what's truly important, because we're managing everything equally as if it's all equally important. And some of it really matters in the classroom and some of it really doesn't. So now is the time for us probably to honestly say, okay, well, reports have been the bane of my existence when they were handwritten, and they're a pain in my ass when they're like a list of numbers and you just tick a box. What are they for? Like, what is the purpose of reporting? Are we just keeping parents happy? Are we genuinely informing assessment for learning? There's really deep and big questions to deal with there. So I think for teachers who are already struggling with getting started with it, that's not the conversation. The conversation isn't this. The conversation is they're worried that many teachers that we meet are worried that the students have leapfrogged them and are way, way ahead. And I think our role then is to remind them, okay, well, kids are using it a lot, like a lot, and they're using it and they're referring to it, and it's entered the discourse in a way that, like, they don't even talk about CGI anymore. They don't talk about computers. They talk about AI. Everything's AI. This is AI, that's AI, whatever. And I think what is important for teachers to remember is that students' use of AI is like an inch wide and a mile deep. And they only use it for the very, very few things that they really adore. And teachers have to be like a mile wide and an inch deep. They need to know much, much more about what's possible with AI than the kids need to know, I think. And I think that's something that I kind of encourage. I give them license to say, you're going to experiment, and you'll find things that are great in AI, and you'll find things that really are useless in AI. It's not good at nuance. It's not good at improbable connections. It's great at replicating things. So if you can give it a model, and you can give it training, and you can pre-prompt it in a way that you really want, it gives fantastic results. Otherwise, accept that in some cases you will be better than the AI, and that's where you put your energy, and that's where you put your time, and you offload everything else that you can do. Not cognitively offloading, but administratively offloading, because cognitive offloading is a real concern. I don't know if you've seen this.
Can you tell us a little bit of the difference? So cognitive being thinking.
Yeah. We're seeing a lot of, I don't know if you've seen this in schools, we're seeing a lot of kids reach for AI way too quickly, rather than in companionship, in work, in ideation and thinking. We're seeing that they're reaching for AI as a go-to, and considering that it's a brainstorm. But of course, the AI structure and narrative is such that as soon as you've used it for an idea and you've used it to start, it will respond with, would you like me to start that for you? And then, of course, it's very hard to pull back, especially as an adolescent or as a teen who's like, of course, yeah, please start that for me. Would you like me to write that email for me? Sure. Yes, thank you.
What I like what you're saying, what I like what you're saying is that, I'm sorry I interrupted you, but what you're saying goes along with my theory. And what I've told people is AI is great if you are already doing something that you can evaluate. We know how to write with something. We can write out a paragraph paper. And we can therefore you can learn how to use AI to be a writing partner with you. And we can evaluate when the writing comes back from AI, we can evaluate how good it is. But as an emergent writer, students, for example, that are emerging as writers, if they just ask for it to write for them, they can't evaluate whether it's a good piece of writing or quality piece of writing. They can't evaluate that. So they're not learning from that. They're just saying, give it to me now. And it sounds like we need to keep keep that in mind. And it's a difficult situation to try and teach AI to people. I like what you said before is keep it simple. So you use that to go back to what your other comment was, for teachers to start with something that they already know and something good and bad. So it's like here's a black and white, and keep it simple to learn the tool itself before we evaluate anything. You're doing it just to learn the tool. So do it for a birthday, or do it for a list, or do it for something simple to see how that prompting actually works. And I love that advice. So I went back to that a little bit. But like I'm getting mixed up because it's a very big subject. We can talk about so many things with AI. My next question, we don't have to go down that wormhole too far. If I may, I wanted to ask you one other question to sort of separate and focus on what you're doing with AI. And my question is, are you focusing as IB? Is it because you are using an agent, meaning a specific form of AI that you are giving out to teachers in the IBO especially? Is that how you're doing it? And could you explain a little bit about the difference between an AI agent and maybe something like ChatGPT?
Sure. So our main focus at the moment initially was on professional development. So we started off trying to support schools in terms of what they needed in terms of knowledge base for their teachers, for their students, for their leaders. And then very quickly it became obvious that that wasn't scalable in the speed at which schools needed it. So we moved to an online academy, and we have AI ethics courses, and we have sustainability. I'm so glad, JP, you mentioned sustainability, because it's crucial. Like, it's so huge, but it ties into that deliberate use, right? It brings us back to a discernment and an evaluation of what's really important. And in fact, in Dublin, at the moment, the data centers are pulling more than 50% of our electricity in the grid.
What?
Like 5%. It's huge. And we have data centers that we cannot afford to lose. Like, we can't lose those guys. We'll have nothing left but potatoes and Guinness and misery. So we have to keep them. And honestly,
you too.
Yeah, it's what we'll have great poetry, but we'll suck at everything else. And essentially, we can't afford to let those go down. And if that's to feed cat memes, and it's to feed agentic workflows that have mixed results, then we have to kind of get downstream of that. And I think the best place we can do that is with the students. So we realized that very quickly after we had been working in, I think we've spoken to over 150 schools already in the IB world and slightly outside of the IB world too. Their next question was like, and what do we teach in class to do this? How are we modeling this in real time when we don't have the skills to do it? So we ended up developing an AI curriculum as well. That's just going live now on the 1st of September with some of our early adopter schools. We're very excited. And it builds in those ideas of sustainability. Like, what does sustainable ethical AI use look like in class? Modeling for teachers, and it's kind of a pick up and go, because none of our teachers have time to fully train up on agentic workflows or world models or anything like that that's coming. I have 8 hours a day to research this stuff, and I never could have if I was back in a school. So I think that's, first of all, that's really important to think about those things. Embodied learning, like what physical, like the importance of being off screen for certain things while still thinking about AI, how AI is going to reach into our students' cognition, how they could be manipulated or socially engineered. All of these things are in there. There's so much to think about. But I think ultimately, agentic workflows, so just come back to your original question, which is like AI agents. When you have a curriculum, like the perfect scenario would be if AI was completely reliable, completely replicable, and it got great results every time. You could, every time a curriculum refresh came through, or a new curriculum or a new assessment, whatever it will be, you could drop your current work into it, and AI would go, bup, 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 and it would do its thing, and it would spit out the brand new curriculum in the way that you like it, keeping all the good stuff from the old version. And we have been working a lot on that because there's some curriculum updates coming. The piece that's crucial is what you just said, though. It's the human expertise part. It's the having done the hard yards and knowing what works and what doesn't work, so that you can recognize the mediocrity, you can recognize the mistakes, because it's so sycophantic and so convincing that if you skim read things, it could look perfectly fine and you could live with it, and that's great. And then you get in front of kids in a classroom and you realize that actually that was terrible. Or you sit down to record some videos and you realize that the script repeats over and over again with the same nonsense. So to get good writing out of AI, you have to already be a good writer. And to recognize really good thinking from AI, you have to be a good thinker. And those are the eternal truths, right, of teaching, is that we're still going to need that. And the commercial imperative on the other side is that for the second time ever only, last year and this year, computer scientist graduates are not getting jobs. So we don't have entry-level programming needs because AI is handling it. So I think it's like 60% unemployed. And so we've been pushing kids into STEM for a long time, and it's been great to look what's happened. But will it be the creative arts and the liberal arts that are going to be really valuable? Because those are the people who are going to be creative, and those are the people who are going to have, eccentricity and originality and taste and all of these things that we've kind of expected in education. But now we have to be, so maybe that's really exciting. Maybe we as teachers move to being taste adjudicators. We move to being like modelers of excellence for kids, and we're back into the craft and the craftsmanship, and they're, I don't know, it's really exciting as an opportunity. It's really scary when you think about it, because at the moment we really need, you don't need junior engineers because senior engineers will check the AI. But how do we get senior engineers when they move on and when they cycle through? Where's that's back to that epistemic responsibility. Who's guarding the knowledge outside of AI and interacting with AI? And I think that's really, I know it's deep and important and kind of crushing, but it's also kind of exciting. Because that is where we build a moat around our kids' intellection. And that's where we build a moat around what really matters to us in education. They can cross the moat, they can go out and they can experience AI, and they can have all of the benefits and the perks. And then they can retreat and be inaccessible to AI sometimes. And I think that's important for kids to be able to feel like they get to be offline, that they're not constantly tracked, that their every move, they're not as wild a generation, are they? I don't know if you've seen this, but the kids are much more sensible than we were. And that can only be due to surveillance, right?
All right, let's take a moment for a little commercial about how to get in touch with us. You can, of course, find all four of us at the itpexpat.com. That's www.itpexpat.com.
Or you could also find us at email at internationalteacherpodcast@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from you.
Or if you're into Facebook, we have a new Facebook group, at www.facebook.com/groups/ITP where you can find all kinds of inside information about ITP expat.
You can also find us on Instagram at ITP Expats. That's with an S. ITP Expats is our handle.
All right, and thank you, listeners. We have over 100 countries represented by our listeners, and though we're not monetized, we are here for you, and we would like to thank all of you for listening. So let's get back to the show.
Rita, let me pull on that thread just a little bit. Critical thinking, deep thinking skills. You get out, you meet a lot of teachers. What are you excited about when you meet teachers and talk to teachers about AI and listen to them? And what, I don't want to say what worries you, but what are the challenges of this day and age of critical thought, of rolling up your sleeves and really jumping in a mile deep into whether it be AI or really anything? What excites you and what worries you the more you meet and talk to teachers?
What excites me, I guess, is the fact that it's pressuring us to think about what is the purpose of all of this? What is the purpose of assessment? What is the purpose of lesson planning? What is the purpose of creativity? And what is the purpose of critical thinking? Because in the digital literacy movement, we got very good at teaching them to question sources and to validate opinions and to defend, to come to a decision, an informed decision, and to balance contrasting viewpoints. And this was such great preparation. The problem is that I'm seeing with a lot of AI schools is that we need the next step from there. Like the critical thinking is one piece, the critical discernment is the next piece. You actually have to make a decision as to what it looks like and as to what is really important and as to what is really valuable. That excites me in terms of it's a slightly different thing that we have to think. It's back to that taste adjudication or modeling best practice idea. We really can think about, okay, kids, just because AI can do 7 million things, maybe only 2 million of them are useful and valid and important. And we're not going to waste the energy, the time, the cognition on the other 5 million things. We're going to really focus our attention on here. So it makes us more discerning. It makes us more, representative of what really, really matters to us. I think that's one thing that really excites me, is that AI could potentially be the filter through which we really revolutionize education. Or it could be a financial opportunity for some big players who are constantly acquiring one another and bringing out a new model. And every time, the thing that worries me the most is that every time a model changes, and I don't mean a brand new model, I just mean like an update, and people go a little bit nutso, and they're really like with ChatGPT 5, they were really upset. I mean, Greg, that's what you're alluding to, right? They were super upset that it was suddenly they'd lost their best friend. That's worrying. What have we done about human to human interaction that people who are crying online saying, this is the only friend I ever had, or, this is the only person who told me I did a good job. Like, that's a machine telling you that you did a good job and you value that. That's what worries me. And I think the social emotional side over the next year is going to probably be where I will put most of my concern and my worries. That social emotional in the face of AI, because we're seeing early dependence. We know freemium models, right? We're all getting hooked on it now. We're going to have to pay for it either with our data or with our wallet at some point. I don't know. What do you guys feel about it? Like in terms of dependence, are you seeing that at all in either in adults or in kids?
The freemium model? Can you?
No, sorry. Are you seeing dependency in adults or in kids? Oh,
absolutely. I mean, we talk about the ability to recognize good writing, but if you're just starting out, I watched my 10-year-old goddaughter this spring, not even typing anything. She hits that microphone button and she talks into it. And then, so she doesn't know how to spell stuff. And so then she won't know how to maybe write anything because she's just using the audio. It's a little frightening.
And I guess the question is spelling going to be important? Is it still important? And my instinct is to say yes, of course it is. What a ridiculous question. But am I the person then who would have said cursive was really important? I mean, calculators.
On the other hand, though, there's the bright side. I'm the glasses half full guy, right? They are using the microphone instead of typing things out. However, the way you're learning a language is changing, even though people are just using Google Translate, at least they're looking at other languages, right? At least they're starting to learn another language, even though the Google Translate doing it for them. They're still interacting more with the language, and they're seeing it. I don't know. The jury's still out. It always has been with me. I have this the two, the angel and the devil on my shoulder the whole time. I love AI, and yet I hate AI. I see dependencies on I see dependencies a lot carrying over from Google, and even in a conversation. I have a conversation. I don't pull out my phone. And yet anybody 10 years younger than me, the first thing they do is when I ask them a question, I say, don't tell me. And they're Googling it right away. That new verb, Googling it. And now the AI is even better. It's going to tell you immediately, because pretty soon we're going to have a little AI sitting next to us. And it's maybe waits till our conversation's over. It's going to say, by the way, here are all the answers to your questions.
Hey, it already exists. I call it the robot, so she doesn't turn on, but Alexa, Google, hey Google,
my phone turns on right
there.
away and starts recording my messages and starts writing messages for me. The devil is back in there. But to answer your question, Rita, I see a lot of dependency on it, but people are using this word AI, but they don't realize, maybe they do realize, it's been around for 10 years in our daily lives. It's been around for 50 years as a study, as a science. But it's only come to light since ChatGPT 1 came out, and it's blossomed after that, right? And that was the big wave we're riding right now. So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rita.
No, I was agreeing. I was like, yeah, I'm the same. Two devils.
You were? Okay. I thought you were raising your hand like I do that class.
No, she was saying angel and devil. She was like,
yeah. I know, mister.
Sir. No, I couldn't agree more, because like every time you think about that, but it's increasing maybe their dependency, maybe not addiction, but it's but it's also giving them access in the same way the internet did to sides of their identity that they never could explore, or people that they could never reach before. Now they have a voice that they couldn't reach before, and a way to ask questions, not to be shamed, not to be embarrassed, not that's really worrying. That it's fantastic in a way, as long as they have the common sense. I think an old-fashioned term, but if they have the common sense not to share too much, then they can get incredible help. But the preservation instinct maybe isn't there. And
the anthropomorphizing, how do you say that word? We're turning it into like a he or she. Like ask her, ask him. He knows. It's a machine. It's not. It's like the cloud. The cloud is not. It's somebody else's computer, right? The AI is really a machine. That's it, right? Sorry.
We were talking about the cloud earlier, Greg. We were saying, should Kent be the host or should you be the host? Well, it doesn't matter. And I said, it's okay. It's up in the cloud.
It's just somebody else's computer. That's all
it's just somebody else's computer.
So is AI. It's somebody else's computer. A lot of them, but there are a lot of computers, but it's somebody else's right now.
It is, but it's revealing things about people that I think I didn't expect before. Because I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I listen to an awful lot of like AI podcasts as well, to get the different camps' opinion and who's saying what about what. And I think it's really interesting that it forces me to make my own mind up then as I flip between angel and devil. But I think it's really interesting. Somebody said they were talking about how AI has allowed them the voice control. You reminded me when you said voice control. The voice control in AI means that now they don't even have to listen to a YouTube video anymore to tell them how to repair something. They can just ask AI and it'll just tell them what to do. So there's no critical thinking at all. Just follow those steps blindly. And I thought, oh gosh, we used to love YouTube videos because we didn't have to read the manual. Now we don't even want to watch the YouTube video.
Right. It's we're changing with the times. We are. But who's the policeman of this stuff?
And he was like, and I can even just ask it while I'm gardening. Gardening in the past, that was such a waste of my time. But now I can be really productive while I'm gardening. And I was like, what?
Well, I'm worried about is the health, though. I'm worried that students are going to start saying, I don't need to go to the nurse. I don't need to go to the doctor because I have an AI health bot. Okay. And it really bothers me because even the ChatGPT that came out August 7th, he brought on for their keynote speech to introduce the whole thing. They brought on a cancer patient and her husband, and they talked about how great it was, and it's backed up, and they've tested it. And I know we can go so many directions. I'm sorry if I'm going way off on this, but AI are the ones that are testing the AI. They're testing it against. It's like saying, well, AI 3 was okay, but this one's so much better. We've tested it. Well, what did you test it with? We tested it with AI 3, and we tested the AI version 5 is much better than it's like it's not just a phone. We're talking about something massive here. And I love this whole conversation. It's hard to have this conversation.
It is.
I respect you for having this every day with people. It's the first and foremost thing we have to have is a language, but there's so many different things changing every day with AI. And are we talking about an AI agent, or are we talking about ChatGPT? Are we talking about Google? Who knows? That's why I struggle so much with having the angel on one side and the devil on the other, because I feel inadequate.
And all we can do, I suppose, is to keep our cool heads and let them prevail. In that, what model kids use isn't important. What dependency they build over time, we can worry about that later. And I think what's most important is metacognition around the whole thing. That they're metacognitively aware when they're becoming dependent. That they're metacognitively aware when they're accepting nonsense. That they so one of the activities that I wrote for the curriculum there a couple of days ago, which is on my mind, is this idea that the recursive thing that you're talking about, the synthetic data, creating more synthetic data and just replicating errors in the whole, so that it ends up hallucinating all the time. I wrote an activity for the curriculum where the kids have to go into the LM arena, which is where they do pre-testing on AI. So they release it to humans. They don't tell you which model you're playing with, and you get this model's response and this model's response. And it's classic humanity, right? It's turned into a game, and you can bet on who's going to win them and stuff. It's really interesting. But as I kept the gambling side out of the activity, but for kids to go in and to see how these companies, essentially all of these kind of big tech companies, go in and they still want human testing and they don't want to pay for it. So they put it on this LM arena and they get to fight. It's a bit like Robot Wars. It's really interesting. And so the activity that I was writing for students was, go onto the LM arena, answer these questions, or, rate this many models. And now let's reflect on and let's analyze why you chose the one that you preferred. Not like instinct, not like gut, but like, what was it about this response that you like more? And what was it about this response that you like more? And then did that speak to a certain human desirability for like succinctness? Did you like the style? Was it about how much it agreed with you or your previous opinions? Was it something you didn't know anything about and you just blindly accepted whichever one looked better? What does that look like? Those are the skills that they're going to need. And that's beyond critical thinking, right? That's into critical discernment, and that's into metacognitive reflection. Those are what really matter. And I think that's, if I was in school, I wouldn't have time to develop these ideas. I would be too busy trying to keep up with my normal day job and my research. If I was still at the IB, this is probably the curriculum I'd be writing, because this is what actually matters. The embodied learning, the metacognition, they're preserving their creativity and their voice, because our 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds are using it a lot. The 13-year-olds, it's shaping their voice already. Like they're allowing it to shape their voice. And why wouldn't they? Quite honestly, why wouldn't I? I would too. Look at me. I'm editing words out of my vocabulary, like delve and navigate, because I think they're too AI-y. I don't say leverage anymore. Like, it's just, it's changing us too.
Rita, could you tell us a little bit about Eblana Learning? And I'd love to know where the name came from. And I don't think our ITP crowd appreciates how busy of a person you are. You get out there, you're talking with teachers, you're meeting you're traveling to places where teachers are. Can you tell us a little bit about your current projects?
Sure, love to. So we at Eblana Learning, I'm glad you asked about the name. Thank you so much. Eblana is the old name for Dublin. And it was originally the launching site for all the monks and religious orders. They would set sail from Ireland and they would establish institutions of learning around Europe. And in those institutions, they would copy the sacred texts and they would illuminate them and then they would improve on them. And then as the Middle Ages burned through Europe, they preserved them with their lives often. And it was this idea that the only copies of ancient Greek we have are because of those ancient monks. And I thought, well, that's really what we need to do during AI while everything is burning, while we're being told 1,000 versions and 1,000 stories of what really matters anymore. What are we going to protect and what are we going to innovate? And I think that's where the whole motivation for the company began, and it's the underlying message of all of our PD. Come join us in our academy if you need a course on anything at all in terms of AI for education. And I think that's the part where you either get people who are great at tech but don't do education, or you get people who have never been a school leader. You need something in that space where you can kind of see it from all perspectives. So that's where our schoolwork comes in. And the curriculum likewise. We thought, well, what actually matters? And also, schools are so overloaded with curriculum. There's very little space and scope for adding even more. So I tried to figure out how can we integrate it quickly into inquiry-based schools, and what would it look like if you're a standards-based school, and what skills will be important. So come on over and have a look at our curriculum on Eblana Learning. I would be really glad to hear feedback on that. The work that we do with schools, either we go into schools because people still value in-person learning, right? So that's really a message from COVID. They want to know, they want to see you, they want to see the credibility, they want to get to know you. So we've had a lot of in-school initial training, and then teachers move to the academy afterwards once they know us and trust us. So there's been a lot of work on that too. So that was the first half of your question, which was Eblana. What was the second half of your question? I forgot.
The second half of the question
what are the
is
projects?
Yeah, just what is the scope of Eblana Learning? You get out a lot. What are some of the places that you've been? Some of the work that you've done? Just how busy are you? Are you going to write another book? Tell us just a little bit about what it looks like to be you in this business.
It's such a funny question. I love it. I am finishing at the moment. I've just written an AI guide for school leaders, which is all of these important conversations we've been talking about, what you need to know, what you don't need to worry about. That is going to the publisher in 6 days. I'm looking at my calendar. I've got 6 days left to finish it, with chapters on AI and safeguarding, which we've been talking about a bit, AI and protection, pedagogy, what they need to know for their staff. For schools who are in a context with a union, any advice that they have there, because unions are very worried about obsolescence and infantilization and deprofessionalization of the community. So that's important too. And I've worked in a lot of high union environments as well. So some schools might really want to change and innovate and they can't. And other schools might be under pressure from parents for that reason, either keep our kids away from AI or I want my kids ready for the future with AI. Pressures in all of those different realms. So working on the book, doing a lot of school visits. We've just recently taken on 8 more consultants who are working with schools, and we're publishing our 30th course this week. So we're very excited. So there's lots going on, both online and in person. This whole sustainable AI concern for schools, that's really blown up in demand, which is really good that people actually do care about it. So I've been doing a lot of keynotes on sustainability in AI, what it looks like, how we can minimize it, how we can prevent it just becoming the next plastic. Because I don't know if you're watching this, but the money that's pouring into AI, and it's like some of it's going on big salaries, but a lot of it's going into energy. And JP, you were saying about the water usage. That's not an issue for us here in Ireland, right? We've got tons of water, but they are putting huge data centers, like in New Orleans, just outside New Orleans, they're putting huge data centers. In the UAE, there are these massive data centers where they're putting billions and trillions of dollars worth of investment. And so we've normalized nuclear energy again. And I never thought I'd see that in my lifetime. And even my government is saying now, we're not going to meet any of our CO2 goals. We just aren't. Let's just find the money to pay the fines. And that's a very different world than we were in 5 years ago. So I think the energy conversation is not as loud as it needs to be at all. And I think anyone having the energy conversation has to avoid the trap of just saying, okay, well, we won't use AI bad. And it's not the case at all, right? There's AI good use cases and AI bad use cases. And that's the culture we need to live in. So for keynotes, I've been doing a lot of keynotes, a lot of travel, working with the IB on some things. So it's been really exciting. It's not where I expected to be a year ago when I had my head down in the books and the journals and the research and all that. But I think there was a space for a voice that was moderate, that was thoughtful, that was deliberate, and that was solution focused as opposed to platform. I'm not thinking about tools and shiny platforms and things. Those will come and go. Maybe it's a product of my age, being nearly 50. But I think I've seen some of this stuff before, so I'm ignoring that. I'm ignoring the noise and I'm focusing on the signal. And I think that is what's important for schools.
Well, what I love is that you brought up a great point of you have the time to do all the research and then to sort of distill the essence of what teachers need, of what school leaders need. And I love that idea that you're going to broadcast it, or you have a place to broadcast it. And that's why I wanted you on the show as well, because I wanted to broaden that broadcast to gosh knows how many listeners, and listeners will pass this podcast on to their school leaders and say, let's get Rita in, or let's join the academy to know more about this. And so I'm very happy that you came.
Thank you. Sorry, I muted there for a second. Just don't stop shouting. I'm delighted. No, I am delighted. I think if the one message, certainly not like a commercial message or anything like that, the one message is if people can consider the sustainability aspect and the ethical aspect as they reach for AI, as they work with AI, if it's somewhere in the back of if they can hear my little Irish Catholic nagging voice in the background, give them a little bit of guilt, I'm okay with that. But if they could consider the best use cases are incredible and the worst use cases are a planet burner. So let's really make sure that we have judicious use of AI in our schools and that we model that message for kids too, that we're doing that. And we're having more disclosure around people's AI. People are using it like a secret hack. And when I suspect somebody has used AI in an email with me that's very different to their voice before, do I lose respect for them? Do I have a bit more respect for them? Is it normalized? Having those conversations in schools too, that would be a great thing to take back.
Well, we're at the point where we usually ask 2 questions of our guests, and I think it's still worthy to think about. The first question is, in your visits, when you're going to places, what are 3 things that you're hoping to find in that country that will make you feel comfortable and at ease in that new country when you're keynote speaker or when you're doing trainings? What are 3 things that you just are looking for?
Or take with you.
Take with you. Sorry.
That's a really interesting question. And if I put myself back into when I was moving country to country and when I was in international schools as a teacher or as a leader, the 3 things, it's so funny because as a recovering philatelist and as a recovering coin collector, you go to these countries and those things don't exist anymore, right? I'm not collecting anything. And because of Marie Kondo and minimalism, I don't take much with me. And yet, when the school gives you a gift, that's something really thought, like in Azerbaijan, I was given a scarf and it was really beautiful. And it could have come from China, I don't know. But it was the thought in that moment that they decided they would get me something that wasn't necessarily a water bottle or an umbrella or something, something that was really thoughtful. And the people who write a thank you note or the people who put something physical, tangible with you to take home, I think because I don't get cash out. I didn't take a bank card on the last 3 trips that I was on because I just tapped with my phone. And I thought, gosh, if I get into trouble here, what am I going to do? And I went, I won't get into trouble. That's very dangerous in terms of a line of thinking. But yeah, the 3 things the relationships that we take with us, when you've met people, you can have like 3 Zoom calls with them, planning the sessions and everything else. And then it's the moment where you go for coffee, where you sit down and go, oh gosh, I'm exhausted. And they tell you something about their life. That's the bit I take with me. And I think in international schools, that was the bit that I loved the most. It was making new friends, the honeymoon period in any new international school. I love that until you get to November and everybody hates everybody. That kind of
September to October is awesome.
Awesome. You can't do enough for people. They can't do enough for you. I love it.
Yeah. And you never say no to anything. You're going out every night. You're going parties, everything.
Yes, please sign me up. Yeah. So I love that. And I think that work with schools now, you still get that exciting buzz where they're like, oh, you're speaking to me. You're meeting us where we are and not where we're supposed to be. Or it's very different. When I would do IB visits or accreditation visits, it's a different environment. When you're there to genuinely help them and they sense that within the first 10 to 15 minutes, and you're not a consultant who comes in and points at the obvious or tells them inaccessible things, or, when you're there to actually help, people recognize that straight away, which is amazing. And you take that well-being, that connection, that relationship with you. And I think that's what we're going to see. The social skills are going to be more important now with AI than less important. I think the ability to connect with people, the ability to be convivial or interested in other people's lives or thinking outside your algorithmic bubble, that's going to be a super skill. And I think that's what I take. Those are the things that I take with me from every international school I visit, every international school we talk to, every international school I've ever worked in. I always had a theory that you could get 2 out of 3, right? You could get an awesome staff, really great kids, or, a fantastic system. You could only ever have or parent support. You could only have 2 out of 3. With this job, you get to go in and you get to see all 3 of those things, and you can see it at a dispassionate distance, and you don't have to live and breathe it and feel it. And I think that's really interesting. So I like to take with me those personal connections, the memories, and then the thoughtful gifts. I think those are the 3 that really make a difference. And when I can look back at the end of whatever this phase of my career will be, it won't be articles, it won't be books, it'll be those moments, I think, that are really nice. Photographs, I guess.
You make me feel, I pale in front of your three choices. Every time we ask this question recently, I mean, you've got three great answers. Mine was like ice, a maid, and a car. But yours are so much better than mine.
I take it all back. I want the maid.
Yes. Now, please, now, right now.
Now, Rita, we always ask our guests the next question. Now, bear in mind, I'm sure we don't have enough time for every one of your stories. The run-in with authorities. I'm sure the list is long, Rita, in your travels. The powers of the state. What can you tell us a story about where you just got on the wrong side of the local authority?
Oh my God, that's a great question.
Or customs, yep. Customs or police, yep.
I'm an eldest daughter, Catholic.
Everyone close your ears for the next story.
No, that's a great question. Let me think. Oh, one of my favorites in terms of acts of rebellion was when I first moved to the UK. I don't know how much you know about the British-Irish relationship, but as an ex-colonial power, I moved to Ireland. Sorry, I moved to England from Ireland, and I got a job in a state school, a pretty tough inner city state school, where in the first term, the kids all called me Tash for the first term because I had a mustache. Oh my God, this is going to be unbroadcastable. But anyway, one of the things. Good luck editing, Greg. Enjoy.
I love it. We'll talk later.
One of the things that they asked me to do paperwork-wise was they said your paperwork does not meet our standard. Irish teaching qualifications are substandard. Actually, they didn't say about the Irish. Sorry, they said you're a foreign teacher. Therefore, we need you to go for retraining of an evening. We need you to go to this. It was a refugee class, and I had to go to the refugee class to learn English. And I would sit in the imported teachers class every Wednesday evening for 3 hours and learn about the words for blackboard and the words for pen and the words for book. And I knew that I was going to do this for 8 weeks. I had 3 hours every Wednesday for 8 weeks. And so I registered my disgust with this face. And they came to me and said, you know, is everything okay? And I said, no. And they said, could we get you an interpreter? And I said, sure. Yeah.
Sure you can.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely. Get me an interpreter. This is awesome. Get me the next best Irish interpreter you can find.
Oh my God. Good answer.
So they had to come back to me and went, oh, actually, sorry, we can't really find anyone. I was like, well, I speak really good Irish. You could pay me and I could translate for myself. And they said, oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, we'll do that. They said until they realized how annoyed I was.
So bizarre.
I love that.
You're speaking English.
Yeah.
You're an English speaker.
You get an Irish speaker in here. You pay them. We'll have a great time. We'll spend it in the pub right after. It was ridiculous. I loved it. Now, let me think. What are the brushes with the law? This is such a good question.
Wow.
Here's a good one. Now, please.
See, I warned the ITP crowd. We're just getting warmed up.
We want three now.
Got to Switzerland, high in the mountains, at a Swiss boarding school. And this has no reflection on the school, so I'm safe to tell this story. The women only got the vote in Switzerland in 1971, right? And in this particular region, they only got the vote in 1991. And we were there in 2008. And we went to the bank and we were filling in the forms. And they said, do you have your husband's permission to open this account? And I was like, what? I wasn't allowed to have my own pigeonhole either. I couldn't have a credit card and I could not buy things on the credit card without his permission. He loved it. It was the
Middle East. It's like the Middle East.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Is it like the Middle East? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I didn't think it still existed, honestly, like anywhere at all. So then of course I would just have, I had an absolute ball with that one. I think you can imagine probably the kind of things that I did, but it was incredible. So I then lodged a complaint and I was told my complaint could not be considered until my husband had approved it. unbelievable. And they said my wages had to be paid into his account from the school. And I said, but I make more than him. And they went, doesn't matter. I said, but I'm more experienced than him. They're like, doesn't matter. He's the head of the family. I was like, there's just two of us, and I'm clearly the boss.
Yes, you are, Rita. Yes,
he's baggage.
Wow.
Oh, so fun. Like, just, oh my God. But these are the stories that I didn't have when I worked in Ireland. You know, I just didn't have these kind of wild, crazy adventures. And I think that's the bit where, you know, to bring it back to the theme of your podcast, like international teaching is such an incredible life. Like education has given us the most incredible life. We've lived in Bermuda, we've lived in Switzerland, we've done the same. We've worked in inner city schools, we've worked in really privileged schools, and we have had this incredible life together. And I don't ever take that for granted. And I think if I can give back to school communities in this way and saying, like, don't panic. Everyone's looking for the grown-ups in the room. Don't panic. This is what AI means, and this is what isn't important. Then that's the service that I can give back. And I think that's important because so many people have given us that grace and that wisdom and that insight along the way that I think we owe that just to the community in general.
Paying it forward.
Rita, as we get ready to wrap up, go around the table, do you want to give a quick shout out to your family? You've mentioned a couple of family members. Do you want to tell the IPT crowd who surrounds you?
Sure. The man who was shouting at a distance there, that's Andy. So he's my husband. He's an MYP coordinator here in Dublin as well, and a design extraordinaire. He's a great writer, and also is the person who makes sure everything actually gets done in our lives. Otherwise, I would just lose myself in every book.
But clearly not the boss. We know that now.
Just ask him if he can pay a little bit to our podcast. Ask him if you can write a check.
Yeah, I'm going to tell him the network failed. The whole recording was unusable. No, don't look at your phone, darling. And then I have a 10-year-old, and she is just she's a riot. She's a hilarious child.
That's the best. 10. Wow, love it.
And does she have one of those unique Irish names that you can't spell or pronounce?
Elizabeth.
Apparently not.
Back to the spelling again, huh?
Okay.
I forgot the important part. He's English, so obviously we had to name her after the Queen. You know, it's very important.
Okay, all right. Wow. So that was you acquired him in Ireland, or when you went to go to England? Yes,
that was the man. She said I picked up a man, and yeah,
that's him. Okay.
Well, he should never ever listen to this because he was my gardener when I met him. So yeah.
Let's go around the table. Let's go around the horn for final thoughts. I'll start with JP, and then we'll come around to Greg, and then to you, Rita. JP, Rita, final thoughts.
This has been the fastest hour. I know from Greg, I think we could talk for another hour, 2-3 hours about this. So maybe after your book comes out and, you know, there's the reception and things, then maybe you'll come back and talk more about that.
Yes.
So yes, please. That would be awesome. Greg, final thoughts?
Oh, I just want our listeners to go back and listen to what Rita was explaining that teachers can do to start with AI. I think it was very well said, and it's simple to start, find out what the tools are like. And other than that, I'm just gobsmacked. I agree with you. It was a really fast episode for us. And I can't wait for her to come on again so I can get like 5 more police stories out of her.
I'll be working on it.
That's true.
There might be some new ones by then.
Right.
Yeah, you need this. You need the French border police driving story. That's what you need.
Oh, yeah, I like that one.
Tune in for later, folks.
Yes.
We'll put that on the Patreon.
Foreshadowing.
Oh, yes, the Patreon account.
Rita, what do you want to tell the ITP crowd?
I think because Greg brought it back to utility, right? Utility of what AI really does. I think that's really important. Thinking about what we want it to do as opposed to what it can do. What do we genuinely want from AI? Do we want to never have to work again? Do we never have, do we want it to do our laundry? Do we want it to do our thinking? What do we want from AI? And that experimentation, even after everything we've said about energy usage, even after everything that we need to do about critical thinking, there are no AI experts. There are only people who've done more time with it than you have. And I think that's crucial. It's just get your hands dirty, do it a little bit. If it's not for you, perfectly fine. I think if I was back in the head of school position right now, if you said to me, I am an objector, I don't like it, I don't want to use it, I would say that's absolutely fine. But you must be an informed, conscientious objector. And so once you know how it works, and once you know how the kids are using it, and you don't want to use it for you, you do you. That's perfectly fine. You cannot do that from a position of ignorance or a position of denial. So let me show you what it can do and then decide. And then for the most part, people kind of go, yeah, okay, I see what it's for. It's not for me. Or, yeah, I see what it's for. I get excited and I experiment a little bit. But I think that acceptance of where everybody is and where everybody wants to be, I think that's truly important. And I think pressuring people to do it or pressuring people not to do it is unethical. And, it's unproductive and it's unsustainable. So, yeah, let's do what's right for everybody. And most importantly, what's right for the kids.
Okay, thank you, Rita. This has been just a lot of fun. You're a super nice, smart person. You're busy. We look forward to following where you're going in the future, and hopefully you'll come back and get us updated.
Connect with me on LinkedIn. We're always putting out free stuff. We're always sending out resources out into the universe. So please do. Let's stay in touch. And I would love to come back. I promise I will even invent stories if I need to. Not AI stories, real stories.
I would like to thank JP Mint. You can find her at JP Mint Consulting. And thank you, JP.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would like to thank Greg. You can find his book, a couple of his books at www.amazon.com or wherever you find your finer books. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you very much.
And I would like to thank our very special guest, Rita Bateson. You can find more about her projects at Eblana, EBLANA learning.com. Thank you so much, Rita.
Thank you.
And check her out on LinkedIn.
Check her out at LinkedIn, please. And again, I'm Kent the Cat Guy, and you can find me in, my bedroom. We'll see you all later. Thank you all so much.
Woo!
Okay, hold on. Don't go away. Let me stop this. Okay, so that was the practice. Let's hit record, and let's knock this thing out now.